The Orlando Magic select Chris Webber from the University of Michigan.
We all know that having a professional basketball career is a lucrative job, especially if you manage to become an essential part of the team. This is especially true for NBA players who've amassed millions of dollars in just a few years of playing in the league. But do you have any idea how crazy some of these contracts actually are? Well, today we'll be taking a look at some of the highest paid contracts in the NBA's history. Make sure you stay till the end of the video, because number one is going to blow your mind. But first, a simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We will be giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's all your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. Kicking off our list is the one and only Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq made sure to give a stellar performance in his first 4 years as a member of the Orlando Magic, averaging more than 27 points and 12 rebounds a game, plus making it into 4 All-Star teams. With these amazing stats, who wouldn't want Shaq on their team? After his stint at the Magic, the Los Angeles Lakers made him an offer for a 7-year, $120 million contract back in 1996. Of course, we all know by now that he made good on that contract. Next is Tim Duncan, being one of the greatest power forwards to ever exist in the league. After becoming the NBA's most valuable player for 2 consecutive seasons, the San Antonio Spurs wasted no time getting him on board. They entered into a sweet deal of $122 million for 7 years. This includes having the Spurs pay off more than 50% of his yearly salary before every season. Now with a 7-year, $122.7 million contract with the Sacramento Kings, Chris Webber became one of the most famous NBA players of his time. During his first year with the Kings, Webb was able to help the team clinch its league best record 61-21, but they still fell at the hands of the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. Unfortunately, it was all downhill from there, as Webber never got to see a championship for the entire 7 years he was with the Sacramento Kings. Next, we're going to take a look at Joe Johnson. The Hawks ironed out a 6-year, $123.7 million deal with their veteran player Johnson, who at the time of the 2010 free agent season was actually a good catch. He did have several All-Star game appearances, but the problem was Johnson was already 29 years old at the time, which meant he'd be 35 by the end of his contract, and we all know that Johnson is certainly no LeBron James. Moving on next to Carmelo Anthony. This former scoring champion decided it was time to return to the New York Knicks in 2014 with a 5-year, $124 million contract. Although he was actually eligible for a maximum of a $129 million deal, Melo decided to take one for the team and give the Knicks a free pass for $5 million to pursue some other free agents. But that meant he was actually allowed to terminate his contract in the final year also. With that much cash going on for Melo, no wonder he could afford his pet camel. Next up, we have Kevin Garnett being recruited once more to his OG squad of the Minnesota Timberwolves in 1999. The Timberwolves actually took a huge risk in getting Garnett in 1995, who at the time was just fresh out of high school, but he proved he was worth every penny. So as a result, KG was allowed to stay with the T-Wolves with a 6-year, $126 million deal. Next up is Jermaine O'Neal. Things were going great for the other O'Neal and the Indiana Pacers a year into his extension. After becoming a double-double player and receiving all NBA honors for the second time around, Jermaine earned a massive 7-year contract worth $126.6 million with the Pacers. But who knew that tragedy would strike him after the malice at the palace that resulted in a 15-game suspension for O'Neal and him injuring his shoulders soon after returning, which of course then marked the end of his career. Next, we have a 3-way tie between Anthony Davis, Andre Drummond, and Bradley Beal, who all got a $127.2 million contract from their respective teams. Davis scored a 5-year, $127.2 million contract with the New Orleans Pelicans in 2016. Davis was actually going to be given an estimated contract of $145 million by the team, but after failing to secure a starting position at the All-Star game in the 15-16 season, his contract got slashed by more than $15 million. But still, Earning over $25 million per year is nothing to complain about, now is it? Now, Drummond, on the other hand, was generously rewarded by the Detroit Pistons for his first All-Star Game appearance and third All-NBA selection, with the same contract as the Brow and with his more than stellar performance, averaging 16 points and almost 15 rebounds per game in 2015-2016. I'd say Andre definitely earned this big payday. Meanwhile, Bradley Beal sustaining injuries did not stop the Washington Wizards from handing him the handsome offer in 2016. Then just last year, Beal actually agreed to a 2-year max contract extension with the Wizards, which is worth another $72 million to his name. If I were the Wizards execs, I'd chase him too, considering how much the team relied on Bradley during the last season, especially in the absence of John Wall. So now let's talk about Gordon Hayward's $128 million deal for 4 years with the Boston Celtics. He got this offer after a career season in 2016-2017 that saw him averaging almost 22 points per game and making his first All-Star appearance. However, an injury kept him from showing his true strengths. With his contract almost up, the experts are now looking to see whether he will remain with the Celtics to finish his 4-year stint, or will he decide to become a free agent. That all depends on whether he can ultimately bounce back from his injury. On to the next is the late, great Kobe Bryant, who was able to cinch a 7-year deal with the Lakers for $136.4 million in 2004. Back then, it was considered the biggest NBA contract in history. That's why the Black Mamba was able to retire and finish out his career as a Laker. Next, we take a look at Paul George, who agreed to stay with the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2018 after being given a 4-year contract worth $137 million. At first, this was thought to be a very sweet deal for the veteran player, but just a year later, George was traded to the LA Clippers in exchange for 5 first-round draft picks and 2 pick swaps. Plus, OKC also got 2018 number 11 overall pick Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Danilo Gallinari too. But I wouldn't be too sad if I were in Paul's shoes. He could still make more than $33 million next year until the end of this year. Plus, he has an option to become a free agent by next year if a $37 million salary is too cheap for him. Now, as a part of the major power play by the Brooklyn Nets, they were able to cinch all-star point guard Kyrie Irving with a 4-year deal worth $141 million. Now, that's despite him sitting out the 1920 season as he was still under rehab for his torn Achilles tendon that he suffered after the Warriors lost to the Raptors. Luckily, the NBA games were suspended indefinitely. This will give Irving enough time to recover. Moving on now to the $150 million level is Mike Conley, who got that $153 million contract with his beloved team, the Memphis Grizzlies. Conley never played for the All-Stars, but the hefty price tag for his contract is due to the fact that he is an irreplaceable member of his team. After all, Mike is the Grizzlies' all-time leading scorer, which in itself deserves recognition. Then, of course, this list would not be complete without LeBron James. In 2018, he decided to rep the colors of yellow and purple, signing a 4-year deal worth $153.3 million with the LA Lakers. This means he enjoys more than $37 million each year from his salary as a professional basketball player alone. However, if you're wondering why he isn't all the way at the top, well, the truth is King James earns more of his income not from his basketball career, but from his many endorsement deals, which shouldn't come as a surprise. Next, moving on to John Wall with a 4-year, $171 million contract extension he signed in 2017 with the Washington Wizards. This is a massive pay raise for the NBA veteran who had to endure a less than $20 million salary in 2017 and 2018. Now he averages almost $38 million this year. It'll only get better from here on out. Then there's Klay Thompson, staying with the Warriors to get a salary of $190 million over 5 years. The move actually came after the Warriors lost both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to the Brooklyn Nets, but Klay has yet to return to the hardcourt after tearing his ACL in Game 6 of the previous NBA Finals. Next up is Damian Lillard's Supermax extension of $196 million, which is definitely worth noting. The contract will kick in by season 2021-2022 after the end of his original $139.8 million contract with the Portland Trail Blazers. This came after Lillard made it pretty clear that he had no intention of leaving the Trail Blazers, and it looked like the feeling was mutual. And lastly, we have the Beard himself, James Harden, who agreed to have a 4-year extension with his team. Dubbed as a super maximum extension, this will guarantee James $228 million until 2023, which means he is currently the record holder for the highest NBA contract ever signed. A lot of NBA rising stars have reportedly been offered contracts that exceeded some of those on this list, but since they refused the 7-digit contracts in exchange for their freedom, yes, I'm talking about you, Kawhi, we can't really let them be a part of this, can we? Not to mention that this list might soon be updated, since other players like Giannis Antetokounmpo are set to be offered bigger contracts in the coming years, just as soon as the league resumes operations. Anyways, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it.